KIMT News 3, Iowa, Minnesota, together. This is KIMT News 3 at 5 in high definition.
Local authorities weigh in on the discovery of two bodies believed to be those of Iowa's missing cousins.
Authorities say this wooded area is where hunters found the two bodies yesterday afternoon. So far, the autopsy results haven't come in and the remains haven't been positively identified. But law enforcement, they do stress they believe the bodies are those of Lyric Cook and Elizabeth Collins, who disappeared from Evansdale in July.
Now, to give you an idea of the geography of this situation, take a look at this map. The two disappeared from Evansdale, that's near Waterloo, and they were found just off Highway 63 in Seven Bridges Park in Bremer County. That's about 25 miles away. Now, we want to pause just for a moment and let you know that we do have a reporter on the scene of a police chase. It happened just moments ago, and it spanned several North Iowa counties, went through Clear Lake, and ended on the west end of Mason City. We will have some more information for you on this later in this newscast.
First tonight, though, in a news conference held just a short time ago, authorities pressed for more information to come in from the public. They're asking for anybody who saw anything suspicious in the area where those two bodies were found yesterday to come forward. It doesn't matter how small the information seems. A $150,000 reward is still in effect. Right now, Seven Bridges is closed while authorities with the FBI, Division of Criminal Investigation, and other agencies scour the area for any clues. Nobody is under arrest. Although the girls were found miles from our area, cases like this have been dealt with by local law enforcement in the past. They tell us, as a member of law enforcement, investigations like this are very difficult and require a lot of organization.
It's stressful. You're always hoping for positive outcomes. We realize that that's not always going to happen. The biggest focus at that point would be to have some closure for the family and the relatives.
And now that the girls are believed to have been found, the community is ready to see someone brought to justice. We will have more reaction at 6.
Authorities in North Iowa are investigating a stabbing. The Floyd County Sheriff's Office says they got the call early this morning of a possible stabbing on Highway 218 just south of Charles City. When deputies arrived, they found that one man had suffered knife wounds to the leg and head area. He was taken to a local hospital with what are called non-life-threatening wounds. After an investigation, law enforcement arrested and charged 39-year-old Keith Adams of Minneapolis with some felonies in connection to the case. President Barack Obama traveled to Virginia today to meet with families that will feel the impact if the country goes over the fiscal cliff. On Capitol Hill, Republicans are sticking to their position that tax cuts should be extended for all Americans. Danielle Nottingham has the latest from Washington.
President Obama sat down with a middle-class family in Northern Virginia to pitch his plan to avoid the fiscal cliff. The president says the Santanas would be hit hard if Congress does not extend middle-class tax cuts.
A couple of $1,000s means a couple months' rent for this family.
The White House has made clear the country would go over the cliff if Republicans continue to insist tax cuts must be extended for the wealthiest Americans.
For them to be burdened unnecessarily because Democrats and Republicans aren't coming together to solve this problem gives you a sense of the costs involved in very personal terms.
Here on Capitol Hill, Republicans are standing behind their counteroffer to close tax loopholes and limit some deductions, and say the president needs to deliver a new plan that can pass Congress.
The president proposed a plan that members of his own party won't even vote for.
At a hearing, one economist backed the Republicans.
But I just can't imagine anyone looking at that proposal and arguing that it wouldn't throw us into a recession.
The standoff concerns Ryan Schenecke. His group, The Can Kicks Back, is enlisting young people to pressure Congress to fix the nation's economic woes and not kick the can down the road.
We see that if nothing is done, ultimately it's a lower standard of living for our generation.
Schenecke put on a can costume to dance Gangnam Style in this YouTube video with former Senator Alan Simpson, the Republican co-chair of the President's Deficit Commission. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, Washington.
And former Senator Simpson said in an interview today, a fiscal cliff compromise has to include new revenue as well as spending cuts. He called it stupidity for Democrats and Republicans to speculate on which party has more to lose if they don't reach a deal.
According to farmers, that fiscal cliff will have a pretty big impact on them. If nothing is changed, the estate tax law would revert back to a $1 million exemption, meaning anyone who makes more would be paying big on taxes. The concern is that any more small farms exceed $1 million in value on paper, but don't have that kind of cash just laying around. That would force farmers to liquidate assets and possibly cause them to go under.
In my case, this is something that's taken 5 generations to build. And for it to be wiped out just because of politicians' inaction is unacceptable.
It's not just farmers who have to worry about this. Small businesses that are multi-generational are also running into the same trouble. We'll have more on this impact tonight on KIMT News 3 at 6.
The slain girlfriend of Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Javon Belcher was laid to rest today. Police say 22-year-old Cassandra Perkins was killed by Belcher before the NFL star took his own life on Saturday. Perkins is survived by the couple's 3-month-old daughter, Zoe. A blaze in Wisconsin takes the life of one person. It broke out early yesterday morning in Oneida County. Crews were called to the 200 block of Maple Street on reports of a structure fire. The assistant fire chief says a man who was trapped inside that home has died. A woman who was outside the house was taken to the hospital as well. Her condition is unknown, and so is the cause of the fire.
An Oklahoma teen convicted of manslaughter and a drunken driving death of his friend gets an unusual punishment for his crime. A judge sentenced 17-year-old Tyler Allred to 10 years probation and 10 years of attending church every Sunday. But that ruling is now coming under fire by the American Civil Liberties Union. It has filed a complaint against the judge over the unusual sentence, saying it violates the teen's First Amendment rights. A new training program is helping to empower local daycare providers. Minnesota Child Care Credentials is an intensive 2-year training program aimed at getting kids in daycare ready for school. The program covers all aspects of caring for and nurturing children. Daycare providers are able to implement state-approved curriculum to stimulate learning while caring for children. One recent graduate of the program says it's made a huge difference in the way she runs her daycare.
The networking with other daycare providers, getting some great ideas, talking with the teachers, getting all the information. I mean, it's 2 years worth of trainings, and there's just a wealth of information.
There are more than 14,000 licensed and regulated daycare facilities in Minnesota.
Well, folks are put to the test today, and they got to experience what it's like to drive drunk. They didn't actually get behind the wheel, though. It's all part of the fight toward 0 deaths on Minnesota roadways. The Minnesota State Patrol held a drinking demo today. 6 people took part. They were given alcoholic drinks and then subjected to different tests throughout this demonstration. It was all put on in hopes of showing just how easy it can be to make the mistake of drinking and driving.
And let everybody know that a .08 isn't one drink. A .08 is 2 impaired on the roads to be driving with our families. And they're going to experience here, they're going to understand it here, and they're going to feel it here.
And we're going to have more from this drinking and driving demonstration coming up tonight at 10.
Well, not too bad of a day. A little chilly, I guess, compared to some of the other days we've had recently, but we'll take it.
Oh, it's still a pretty decent day. We saw a little bit of some light rain across the area earlier. Didn't really amount to much, but we will be looking at a chance for a few flakes of snow flying in your forecast in a little bit. Let's take a look and see what's happening outside on our Albert Lee live eye in the sky. We do have cloudy skies. We may see a little bit of partly cloudy sky action before we end up seeing more clouds returning later on throughout the day or throughout later on tonight. Rockford at the RRMR Middle School, 40 degrees of the current temperature, northerly wind about 5 miles per hour. You can see about 0.04 of an inch of rain ended up falling. When we look at your CityCast, we are going to be starting off this evening mostly cloudy. Temperatures in the upper 30s, temperatures dropping down into the mid 30s by midnight, and then temperatures into the upper 20s to mid to upper 20s. Mostly cloudy skies to start the day tomorrow in Charles City, but I'll tell you about when we can expect to see a few snowflakes falling from the sky, and if we're expecting any accumulations coming up in a few moments.
Looking forward to that. Matt?
Well, it's time now to celebrate the gag gift of the cake world. That's right, December is National Fruitcake Month. It's a whole 31 days dedicated to the admiration of the nut and candied fruit culinary concoction. You can blame, or credit if you like fruitcake, the ancient Romans for the invention of it. The first known recipe included pomegranate seeds, raisins, and pine nuts. Now, my family has to buy those every year.
Yeah?
Not as a gag gift, though. My father-in-law absolutely loves them.
Well,
so we have to go, get them and He doesn't laugh at all when he gets the gift.
Do you make it, or do you just go buy one?
I wouldn't have this first clue how to make it, so we go buy one.
And my kids ask me what it tastes like. I don't know, so I think this year we need to buy one too. Let's check in with 6 o'clock anchor Sarah Danik in the newsroom. Sarah, have you tried the fruitcake?
I don't think I ever have, actually. I tried some rum cake a couple years ago, but that's about it. All right, well, coming up at 6, first, if you are out and about, maybe celebrating the holidays at a party, there's a way to make sure you're not drinking too much, how a new mobile website can assist in keeping track of the alcohol in your system. Plus, a Mason City office is closing down. Now, we've heard from the leaders at IC System. Now we're hearing from city officials to get their reaction on the news. We'll have those stories and much, much more tonight at 6.
Thank you, Sarah. Yesterday, we told you about Starbucks shelling out dough to add new locations, but now they're going for their wallet again.
Plus, Apple and Samsung are back in court. What could be decided coming up?
You're watching KIMT News 3 at 5. News with Matt Bradley and Amy Fleming. Chief Meteorologist Adam Frederick with your Storm Team 3 weather. KIMT News 3. Coverage you can count on.
The stock market is eking out a small gain. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed nearly 40 points. The S&P 500 rose 5, and the Nasdaq was up 16 points. Starbucks says it will pay $16 million in additional taxes in the UK.
And that announcement comes in response to a recent outcry in the UK that multinational companies aren't paying enough in taxes. Starbucks, Google, and Amazon have all been targeted as not paying their fair share. The managing director of Starbucks UK says they have always paid taxes to the letter of the law, but will make additional payments in 2013 and 2014. The who copied whom debate is back on in a San Jose, California federal courtroom. Apple is trying to get an injunction against the sale of several Samsung mobile phones. And Samsung wants to get the $1 billion patent infringement verdict against the company thrown out. This latest legal wrangling for control of the smartphone market made waves on Wall Street, where Apple stock dropped more than 6% yesterday and a little more this morning.
We are going to be seeing a chance for a little bit of some light snow along with temperatures getting colder. I'll show you how much colder we'll get in your full Stormy Day forecast. Our storm through live site in St. Ansgar, the middle school. 40 degrees is the current temperature. Picked up about 7/100 of an inch of rain earlier for today on top of the school. Not a whole lot, but still talking about rain in December. Not exactly something that's usual unless we're talking about freezing rain, which obviously that wasn't. Let's take a look and see what's happening right now on our Mason City live eye in the sky. Taking a look over western Mason City. Another pretty quiet night. Winds aren't too bad this evening, and those temperatures aren't too bad either. When we look at some of the temperatures across North Iowa and southern Minnesota, they're sitting into the upper 30s, lower 40s. Really pretty nice considering the normal daytime high should be lower 30s, and we will be seeing some of that cooler weather slowly start to sneak back into the region. And it's going to slowly sneak back in because there's nothing really for cold air across the Midwest right now. 22 International Falls, 30 for Fargo, as well as 40 degrees in Minneapolis. All those places really sitting with above normal temperatures. To our south, still above normal, 52 degrees in Kansas City, but we're not going to be blowing the warm air in anymore. We're going to be blowing that colder air back in, but again, that colder air is going to take a while before it gets to be the point where you might consider to be kind of cold. Now, satellite radar shows a few of those rain showers earlier for today. We will be watching to see a few of those snow showers or rain showers become snow showers in the parts of the Midwest, but not right away. We'll expect to see a little bit of that more so Friday night into Saturday. 3D weather flight shows this cold front that passed through earlier. That's what brought with it a few of those rain showers to the viewing area. Another low pressure off to the west, but that one's going to basically pass off to our south. And instead of having a main low pressure pass through, instead we're going to be seeing a little upper level disturbance slide by. Your skycast shows fairly cloudy skies for tonight, maybe a little bit of a break as we go after midnight, but we'll see more clouds quickly fill back in. And then as we go throughout the day tomorrow, some snow is going to develop with that upper level disturbance sliding by into parts of South Dakota. As it makes its way off to the east, we may be seeing just a little bit of that, but it should be primarily to our north. We may be seeing a little bit of that across North Iowa, a little bit heavier across southern Minnesota, but even at that, heavier is little, if any, accumulation with that. Best case scenario at this point would be saying mainly just a few snowflakes flying and maybe a little bit of accumulation on some of the grassy surfaces. Of course, we'll keep a close eye on it. When we look at your overnight details, turning to the forecast, mostly cloudy. Tonight, temperature dropping down mid-20s. Northwest winds coming down to about 6 miles per hour. Then tomorrow, we'll see mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures into the mid-30s. We'll see northeast winds at about 4 to 8 miles per hour. And tomorrow night, cloudy skies. A little bit of some isolated snow across the region. Not expecting to have any real problems along with it. Temperatures dropping down into the mid to lower 20s. East winds at about 4 to 8 miles per hour. Looking ahead at your 7-day weather forecast, we'll see mostly cloudy skies on Saturday. Then we'll have another little round of some snow possible Saturday into Sunday. Potentially could be a little bit heavier than that bout that goes through Friday into Saturday, but still we're not looking at any significant snowfall by any means. Temperatures will be into the upper 20s on Sunday, and then much colder air from Monday, dropping back down into the lower 20s. Upper 20s then on Tuesday with partly cloudy skies Wednesday. Temperatures just hovering there right around that 30-degree mark, which would be pretty normal, but still nothing for any big snow shower chances. There is a few of those little light chances. We'll keep a close eye on them, see if they develop anymore, but they're really not expected to at this point.
All right, the way it looks on that radar with that big blob of blue, it looks like we're in for a whopper.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to come through and be pretty light and pretty quick.
All right, thank you, Adam. There's a debate raging throughout the country on the use of marijuana.
Coming up next in Covering Your Health, how marijuana is helping one family cope. Medical marijuana for kids. Kyung La tells us about a 6-year-old with epilepsy who has been suffering fewer seizures since he started taking medical marijuana.
The video is hard to watch. 6-year-old Jaden in an epileptic seizure.
When you hold your son and he's screaming like that, what is that like?
I would say hell. There's nothing you can do to make him feel better.
But there is something. Jason David administers an unorthodox drug for his son's catastrophic epilepsy called Dravet syndrome, a disease that can be fatal for children.
45 minutes later, I give him medical marijuana.
Calmed him down.
Yeah.
Stop the seizure.
Stop the seizure. He's in pain, suffering, crying. You have to do whatever it takes to save their life.
Pharmaceutical drugs have failed the Modesto, California family.
Refinamine, Topamax, Clobazam. He couldn't chew, he couldn't walk, couldn't take a bath. Open?
After a year of taking a liquid form of medical marijuana made mostly of cannabidiol that doesn't get you high.
I love you.
Yeah, Jaden!
He's playing, running, and climbing. Jaden is eating solid food. From 22 pills a day to treat his epilepsy, he's down to a pill and a half. 44 ambulance trips before starting on legal medical marijuana. It's now 0.
Medical marijuana, sometimes they call it miracle marijuana.
Jaden is not the only one. There are no solid national statistics of how many children are using medical marijuana, but in the states where it's legal, from Oregon to Colorado, states report dozens of registered users under the age of 18, some as young as 2. And this is your vault?
This is our vault.
A vault full of various types of medicinal marijuana. At Harborside Health Center in Oakland, technicians sort, analyze, and distill the plant. It's science here, and they believe it will help children with severe autism, epilepsy, ADHD, and cancer.
We have seen more than one child like Jaden who came to us with very, very serious, severe, life-threatening illnesses, who, as soon as they started using cannabis medicine, saw a dramatic turnaround.
The medical community says without better research, which requires federal support, most doctors oppose medical marijuana for children.
All medications may have side effects, may have long-term consequences, and unfortunately with cannabinoids we know very little about that. The parent is really flying by the seat of his or her pants in doing this.
You are the world to me.
Call him crazy, call him unethical. This father has heard it all, except for one phrase.
All I want is my son to say, I love you, Dad. I love you. You say I love you? That's all I want to hear. I mean, I'm really close.
Close to finally reaching his son. Kyung La, CNN, Modesto, California.
And that's all for Covering Your Health. Matt?
Thanks, Amy. When we come back, we'll have a last look at your weather forecast. Plus, we will be running down some of today's top stories in our Top 5 at 5.
And welcome back. Here's a recap of your 7-day weather forecast. We are going to be seeing a few isolated snow showers Friday into Saturday, and then another chance for a few snowflakes as we go Saturday into Sunday. Temperatures are going to be dropping down into the upper 20s, and we will end up seeing those temperatures staying down there just a little bit, but the chances for accumulations overall pretty small, but we will be keeping an eye on the snow, especially Saturday into Sunday. Matt and Amy?
Thanks, Adam. Now we head to our top 5 at 5.
And here are some of today's top stories. First, we want to give you an update on a story that we told you about briefly at the beginning of the show tonight. One man is under arrest after a high-speed chase spanned several counties, went into Clear Lake, and ended on the west end of Mason City around 4:45 this afternoon. We have a reporter on the scene. We'll have the latest tonight on KIMT News 3. Well, we are getting an update on the Evansdale girls today as well. Although the autopsy results are not back yet in that case, authorities say evidence at the scene makes them believe the 2 bodies found yesterday are those of Elizabeth Collins and Lyric Cook. The 2 had been missing since July.
Authorities in Floyd County believe this man stabbed another person early this morning. It happened on Highway 218 just south of Charles City. One man was taken to the hospital with leg and head wounds from a knife. 39-year-old Keith Adams faces charges in the case.
A 22-year-old who was murdered by her NFL player boyfriend was laid to rest today. Cassandra Perkins was shot to death Saturday by Kansas City Chiefs player Jovan Belcher, according to authorities, and Belcher later killed himself at the team's practice facility. The couple had a 3-month-old child together.
The U.S. is getting closer and closer to falling off the so-called fiscal cliff. President Obama traveled to Virginia today to meet with families that will feel the impact if a deal isn't struck. On Capitol Hill, Republicans are sticking to their position that tax cuts should be extended for all Americans. So the question is, where do we go from here when it comes to the fiscal cliff in Washington? To find out, stay tuned for the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
That comes your way next, followed by a local reaction to the fiscal.
Pennsylvania.